We're going live for Tuesday Talks now. Tuesday Talks is all about getting to know an individual, finding out what makes them tick and what do they care about and what drives them as well to keep doing what they do. Today's guest is Tim Peakin, Peakman. I don't know why I said Peakin. So Tim Peakman, and his background of 16 years in British military has provided him with the fundamentals of leadership, training, and course design. And he's helping expert package what they know into an online program so they can live the life they want. Tim now coaches his clients through creating a framework of their unique methodology, designing and building out their training content, and helping them launch their programs using webinars, email marketing, and live events. So let's get Tim on here. And I see that. Hey Tim, how are you doing?
It works. Yeah, how you doing, Zishan?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you very much for taking the time out and hopping on to Tuesday Talks.
Absolutely. Excited.
So I did a short introduction about you as well. So I don't know if you got to hear that or not, and I got your surname wrong some reason. And so if you didn't, glad so that I did rectify it after. But yeah, so the first thing I wanted to start this conversation with was let us know who you are, what you do, and that what everybody wants to know is why do you do it, Tim, as well.
Yeah. So yeah, Tim Peakman, if you got that bit wrong.
I got it right now.
I've got a background in training and education, and basically I help people build online businesses specifically in the tech element. So a lot of people get tech overwhelmed, so I help people with that. And I do it because it's the number one problem I see. This is actually my third online business, and the biggest challenge I see people starting an online business, specifically like solopreneurs, small micro businesses, is getting in front of people. So I help people with that element and helping them with the tech, like delivering it. Specializing in helping like solopreneurs, micro business owners, one person businesses.
Wonderful. So the question would be, what's driving you to do that, right? How did you come across that? Or was that something, like usually people have this burning desire to do something, and obviously, I'm sure that was not it, but how did you come across
Yeah.
it that this is
The,
it?
yeah, the answer to get to that question is kind of a series of different things. I spent 16 years in the British military, and I've been told like where to go, when to go over a number of years. And it got to the point where I thought, I need more governance and control over my future, where I want to work, who I want to work with. So I wanted the remote lifestyle. This is pre-COVID. This was like 8 or 9 years ago now. So I was looking at ways of building an online business so I could work from wherever. Um, I originally started, I don't know how far back you want me to go. I originally started,
Totally up to you.
we can go into these in a bit more depth, but I started with selling physical products on Amazon. And then that basically opened a key to another door because we got really into Amazon advertising. So then my second business was building an Amazon advertising agency to help Amazon sellers with their advertising and selling of their physical products. And then this business, my personal business, because I used Kajabi and built my whole business around that platform, I now help people specifically with Kajabi and help them get their message out to the world. So it was a sort of a transition from one business to the next to the next. I didn't really see Amazon as like the North Star. That was just the platform that helped me build a remote online business. And sort of over the course of time, I sort of found my niche in what specifically I wanted out of an online business. And for me, it's the freedom of having the ultimate freedom is having your own business. The businesses previous were partnerships, and having the ability to work from wherever and whenever you choose. So I have that now, and I'm helping
That
others do the same.
that's quite interesting. So would it be correct in saying that you're living the nomad style? I
Some
wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say the laptop lifestyle yet, or is that so as well?
So yeah, I mean, I need, because I've built this business on YouTube. I'm not really an Instagram guy, hence some of the tech challenges. I need at least like a camera, a microphone, and some lighting, and a laptop. So that's the sort of stuff that I carry with me when I travel, and that's like my remote office setup. Yes,
Mm.
but some people
So
have called me a digital nomad. That's, I mean, I'm not really going from place to place all the time. It's just if I choose to go somewhere for like 3 months,
you
I
can.
can operate from that location. Yeah.
No, nice. So, and now that you've come across this side of the world, which is like, okay, I mean, you've not given yourself the title of being the digital nomad because you're not traveling a lot, but you are able to relocate if you need
Yeah.
to and not worry about how I'm gonna function. You're able to just obviously pick the business up with you and take it, right?
Yeah.
And so what's driving that solution is still that you're trying to help others also, you know, get on with the tech side of things and move forward.
Yeah. It's really building a business around the skill set. All of this is choice, right? You choose to build an online business, and I think you should choose to build a business, one, that you're good at, and two, you enjoy, and three, that you can make some money at. I found that when I was building my previous businesses, I built them relatively quickly, and people were like, "Oh, how did you do that?" Or "How did you do this bit?"
Mm,
And how did you build that? So I think I found sort of my niche within a niche when I was building out my previous businesses, which led to this. And I really do see people struggling with the tech. It's like the overwhelm that they give up quickly. It's the exposure that their message isn't getting out there to the world. So I try and help people that are on the same journey, but just a little bit behind what I've done. And I'm literally just sharing my journey and sharing successes and failures and what to do and what not to do in the hope of helping others.
I really love that. I love that. So, take us through a typical journey of a a client of yours that who would join. What does that look like for them, or somebody who's listening here and think, I don't know if Tim can actually help me. So let us know. You know, what's that typical journey? Who is
Sure.
that person that can reach out to you?
Yeah. It is basically, my typical clients they tend to be experts within their own right. Either they've had a career, they want to do something else, they haven't grown up with the tech,
Mm,
so they need support in that way, and just getting, or either going from brick and mortar to online. It's the transition of putting everything together. So I'll give you a couple of examples that are sort of ends of the spectrum. One client of mine, she managed to build a TikTok audience over lockdown of like 250,000,
oh wow.
just through sharing what she does, daily TikToks, yeah, but had no way of understanding how to monetize that. So the
Yeah.
first thing we worked on was putting a program together, packaging that knowledge, and then promoting that to her audience. So that's one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum is someone who may have been a teacher in brick and mortar or in a school that wants
Hmm.
to come and deliver their program online. So very low audience numbers, but has a proven methodology and a process of how they get results for their students. So it's then focused on, right, we need to focus on building your audience. So if you break business down, or online business down, to its bare bones, it's been said time and time again, you build an audience of like targeted leads and then sell
Hmm.
them what they want. So most people coming to me they have a challenge, either one or the other. I mean, some people have, starting at zero, which is where we have to address both. But
Wow.
yeah, it's ranging from both. It's either building the audience or packaging what they know to sell it.
So is there something you can share like a takeaway for someone who's listening to now, and if somebody is on a ground zero, right, in between these two spectrum, and it's like, okay, I can go either end of the spectrum, but I'm at the point zero where I want to start something, and online is the option that I'm thinking of because having a laptop lifestyle is amazing, so that if I need to just pick up my laptop and lighting and a camera, I can just do it from anywhere. Where can then, what's the best start for them? What should they look for?
Yeah, so I think there's so many ways to make money online. I think a lot of people tend to rush into these things. So first of all is understanding what type of business model you want to operate. And there's loads of different ways. And I think people don't spend enough time in the design stage.
Mm,
So for instance, I choose to build my business off the back of YouTube and Google. That's just my preference.
yeah.
I see them as big search engines. So if anyone would start from scratch, I'm a great fan on content creation. So I would say start putting stuff out there to the world, even if you're not entirely sure about what it is exactly you help people with, but just share some of your knowledge. And by sharing your knowledge and your content, you'll get to understand, one, if it's resonating, like if there's an audience that people actually need more help with that thing that you're sharing, and two, if it's, you can build a business off it. And then, yeah, just really have a think about how you want to package that. So I would say give it time. A lot of people rush into these things and want it to pay the bills tomorrow. A lot of people underestimate how much time it takes to build an
Mm,
online business, even though it takes less time to build an online business than an offline business potentially. People want results overnight. But if you're creating content, like this is my strategy, you could either run paid ads if you have the budget and the strategy. So there's loads of different ways of doing it, but just one, I would say, think about how you want to
mm,
run that business, and two, have some sort of transition into starting it in your evenings and weekends whilst you're, in your day job, and then try and increase the revenue of the offline of the online to the offline, and then sort of make a plan of having an exit. Because I do see a lot of people jump too soon and then operate out of scarcity or operate out of financial fear, and it's sometimes the wrong thing to do. But yeah, just have a really big think about what it is you want, or what it is you're good at doing, and sort of how you can help them and what platform.
I really like that, and what I'm taking away from here also is, to have a plan so anybody can start, and online businesses are quite easy to set up and start off as well. And because they seem that easy and
Yeah,
quick to
very
start,
easy. Yeah,
and therefore people think it's going to be a quick result, as to if you were to start an actual store somewhere or a shop, you need to get leases and all that stuff, that, furniture, whatever you
yeah,
need to start to get the stuff. Whereas here you can just start, and therefore people are looking for that quick result and then jump in so quick. So my takeaway from what you just said here is to make sure that you have some sort of a running cost behind, some sort of a running money with you already, not to just leave everything and then just dive in.
yeah.
Continue with the day job that you have still, and support the online stuff that you're doing until it takes off and it starts breaking even, and then it starts profiting, and then if it is enough to then leave
Yeah,
your day role and then transition across, right?
absolutely. If you have the choice, like obviously some people lose their job, unfortunately, and they might have
Yes.
to, feet to the fire, right? I have to build something. But yeah, there are, as you say, sort of minimal running costs for an online business, especially if you're operating from a laptop. But yeah, just think about the finances and how much you need. Like I ask people all the time, like what are your goals? What are your expenses? What are your monthly expenses? How much do you need to make to break even? And people struggle to answer,
Yes.
what do I need this business to actually, return for me? So
Yeah.
it's all about numbers, really.
You need to have that idea of what's the replacement, what is this going to replace,
Absolutely.
right? So
Yeah.
it's quite interesting because I've also had these conversations with few people, and when you ask that, they don't have an answer for that. And usually I just go, if you have a day job at the moment, just add, you know for me, and add an extra grand on top. Like, okay, add an extra grand on top, that's my break even. And it's a great number to also start thinking of, that now I need to leave the day job,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because whatever you were getting there monthly, you've got an extra grand on top now. That means you're profiting from your day role as well. Now
Yeah.
you're higher, and then
Yeah.
you can just move
Yeah.
across, right? And that's a good number to like work with. And
And so people who are listening to this now, I think should take away that as well. Okay, yeah, we need to work out what the running costs are, and then what do you need to break even as well after that running cost, because that running cost needs to go. You know, it's a bit like how you pay your mortgage, how you pay your rent, and all that stuff, and what's left for you to live on. That's what this business is required to do as well. So whatever's been taken away, and then is whatever's left for you to live on, and it's quite interesting. So you mentioned Kajabi as well. So you're helping people with Kajabi to put up there. So is it people who are course designers, coaches, and so forth?
Yeah. So I mean, I chose Kajabi because I wanted to try and build. First of all, I wanted to try and build a one-person business, which is currently I'm still one person, 18 months in. And two, I wanted an all-in-one platform solution, so I didn't have to keep learning all these different things. So that's what Kajabi does. It hosts your website, it hosts all of your landing pages, it hosts all of your courses and coaching programs. And basically, when people come to work with me, I don't start with some people say, oh, I want to build a course. So I'm like, well, why does it have to be a course? Let's use the term program and then see what sort of shakes out of that. It might be a group coaching program. It might be a one-to-one program. If you have a smaller audience but need to charge higher ticket, it might be a one-to-one, which is great. It might be a service that you can charge. But yeah, Kajabi does podcasting, it does course creation, it does coaching, group and individual, and it does communities as well, so like memberships also.
So it does quite a lot of stuff, and exactly, so people can choose that platform to do various things with it. And you're doing your own business. I'm sure you're recommending people to do that on there as well.
All my stuff's on Kajabi, so anything you see on my domain is all I've built it, and it's all using Kajabi. The only thing that I've outsourced is the logo for my designer, my own logo. That's it.
Oh, that's interesting. So the question that I was going to ask now was, in regards of marketing and all that stuff, what's your take on marketing for people who are scared of marketing, right? Because they're like, what the hell is this?
Yeah. And like I said earlier, like the getting your message out there and getting exposure is the number one challenge for any small business, online business, brick and mortar business, any type of business really. And it can make or break. So I use content marketing, which means creating regular content and sharing them across different platforms. So my platform of choice is YouTube. So that's my primary focus. I've been growing a YouTube channel now for just over a year, so probably about 14 months now.
Nice.
So I create regular weekly content, a long form, like 10-minute video, some interview styles up to like 30, 45 minutes, but then repurpose some of that content over social platforms. But I use YouTube because I see it as a giant search engine, really. I don't see it as a social platform. So my whole strategy is to show up in search. Like if there was one, catchphrase, show up in search. So I turn my YouTube content into a blog post as well. So then I publish that on my Kajabi blog pages. So my secondary goal is to show up as you search in Google. So if somebody has a specific search query, my then task is to show up either with my blog post or my video, or sometimes both, because Alphabet own both those companies. So you could get the double tap at that stage. But with social, I just signpost to my content on YouTube and to my blog posts.
So you're diverting everybody to your YouTube, basically, wherever they find you. So even if they find you on Instagram or Facebook, anywhere, they're gonna go straight to.
To see my full content, to see my weekly content,
Interesting. That's quite good. And so you're running any paid ads and things like that, because a lot of people are scared of paid ads because you think, oh yeah, you're just like giving money to Meta, as they now call themselves, Meta, and Google as well. Sometimes you get these click per whatever, pay per click, things like that. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so my previous business was an Amazon advertising agency. So I know all about Amazon ads, although it is its own sort of unique ecosphere on the Amazon platform. we used to see businesses like overnight have their business model turned upside down because Amazon raised the cost per click by like 20 or 30%, and that was their margin. So if you are solely reliant on any type of advertising to drive your traffic, you are a servant to that platform, whether it be Meta or Google or anything like that. So if then they change the game or the rules of the game, it now costs twice as much to advertise on our platform, then you've got to ask yourself, does it work? Now, a lot of businesses run ads, and a lot of businesses do really well on ads. If they have a proven offer, they're going to get more back on what they've paid for. And even if you can have a break-even advertising campaign, you can still then drive traffic to other products and services. But my goal in coming into this personal brand is off the back of an agency. I wanted to build a bulletproof business model, as I call it, like a pandemic-proof business model that stands the test of time. This is my third online business I've started, and I want it to be my last. So I can see this going like 10 years plus. So I want something that is unshakable in the sort of core foundation of it. So I've experienced posting on YouTube over the course of a year, consistent but steady growth in terms of watch time, in terms of views, in terms of subscribers. It's not as volatile as ads. It's not as like intense, or it doesn't get the sort of uptick really fast. But I prefer that because I want it to be standing the course of time. So I'd rather see a slow and steady but inclining graph rather than something that goes like that and then down.
So very organic, basically. So organically, because your YouTube channel is very active, it just appears onto searches 100% as well.
100% organic.
YouTube is pushing it as well because it shows, okay, this channel is quite active in terms of content creation. Let's put it forward in searches as well. Relevant posts. So I know sometimes YouTube shows you something relevant, even though you search for something else, and the relevant person comes along right on the sides.
Absolutely.
And that's where even if they didn't search for you particularly as a topic, it will say, okay, this is relevant, or somebody who watched this was watching this before.
And that whole strategy is to show up in search and effectively to understand what people are searching for in YouTube and Google, to then create content to actually serve the search result of that query. So understanding that is really, really key, because you get an idea of what people are searching for and what people need help with, and that sort of guides what you can create. And 100% organic. That's my target and my challenge for this business.
I really love that. And now I'm going to change the subject a little bit in terms of, obviously this is your third business and you want it to be a bulletproof and everything. I'm sure it comes with its own challenges. So when you really started your, online side of businesses and, coming out of military and everything, what was the first challenges that you had to overcome? We all have them. How did you overcome them? If you had, right when you started, okay, this is I'm going to do this. I know you said something to do with Amazon, right?
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, this is what I'm doing first, and you're like, oh, did you already knew about it and you dived in, or you're like, okay, I'm gonna dive in? What kind of strategy you have? Are you the person who just jumps off the cliff and makes a plane whilst they're falling down, or?
So I actually, you can't really get out of the military the next day. So I had a plan. I had an exit strategy. I sort of made that decision where I got moved like one too many times in my mind. So I had like a 3-year exit strategy. So then I started selling physical products on the sidelines. But my challenge was I had zero business acumen. I mean, I hadn't done anything other than the military, and my background has been in training and education. So my numbers were like trained personnel. That was like my target. So I had to try and find a way of switching that number with like a revenue sign, and just have that as the focus. That took quite a lot of getting used to, and obviously with no one telling you what to do, you have to figure it out. And I bought a lot of courses and coaching programs and invested in myself to understand how to get to different places quicker rather than just, you know, fumbling around in the dark. But yeah, my challenge was no business acumen, like no MBA or anything like that. I've learned business on the job. And yeah, having no one over your shoulder, like you are, the buck stops with you. So that was another challenge, which I now relish. I love it.
Now you've mastered all these different hats that solopreneurs love to wear, right? So you're like, okay, yeah, you know, I'm a solopreneur, so therefore I have to wear all these hats, and I'm going to be doing it.
I wouldn't say mastered, but I've got a lot better at them over the years. Yeah.
I mean, you said you got you know business acumen, but listening to you here now, it doesn't come across that you didn't have none to begin with at all. You know,
this is nearly 10 years ago now. Yeah.
So there you go. There you go. So it's a 10 years worth of knowledge there now that you're sharing here. But again, what I'm taking away from here as well is to invest in yourself. You know, even so, you need to be clear on what you want. You know, you wanted that conversion of what the numbers you were usually used to be focused on to be showing the, you know, dollar signs and pound signs, you know, be revenue worth now, and how I can do this. I'm like, okay, I need to then understand it. I'm sure you YouTube searched first to begin with, and then found courses and mentorships and all that stuff, right? So you've done all that stuff, and that's what I wanted to also bring across to all these people who are listening to us as well. You know, because it's always amazing to invest in yourself. If you think you need that little support, do your due diligence, obviously, see who you resonate with and who you find better teacher out there for yourself, and do invest in yourself, learn all those things, you know, because it's a skill that stays with you. Speaking to Tim, it was Tim saying, you know, 10 years worth of knowledge, and if you hadn't said 10 years, I would have not known anyway. So we're like, you're like, yeah, you know, not lots, you know, it's there. So that's exactly what I'm thinking in terms of, like, you need to invest in yourself to start with, right, and to go forward. Now, this question might be a little bit redundant as you've got a military background, right? So I'm sure you've got a regimental routine, because usually I do also ask, you know, so if you're doing all these things, is there something, you know, what's your morning routine like? Is there something you know, you wake up and do? You know, is there a set thing that you do? Some people like to call it rituals nowadays. So, right, is there a ritual that you follow, and that continues your day?
Yeah, it's a very good question, and I've tried them all. I think I've tried like getting up at 5 a.m. and you know, and going to the gym at 5 a.m. What I do now and what I find works for me is, because it's just me, I have to religiously or vigorously guard my time, and also my sleep. So how productive I am is a direct effect on what I do in the business. So sleep, I've been doing a lot of study in sleep, and you know, having these things that like track your sleep. I don't ever set an alarm clock now, so I wake up when I wake up, and the first thing I look at is like my sleep data, how well I've slept, and that determines then what I do during the day. So if I've had a bad night's sleep for some reason, or if I'm ill, I probably won't then go and work out. I'll probably just go for a walk or something. But I don't really have a set routine, because it depends on where I am again. It depends if I'm on the road. It depends if I'm at home here. But it depends if I'm in, I like to batch things. So for example, if my weekly videos, I may batch like 4, 6 or even 8 videos within a week. Then that's like a couple of months worth of content done. So I might have a really sort of intense few days and then have a few days off to recover. So it's not really a 9 to 5. I haven't really sort of found a daily rhythm that works for me, but I tend to sort of go in flows of like really focused work and then like just relaxing. But I've had to find a rhythm that I can continue for the long term, because burnout is so real. And a lot of people just need to do all of the things all of the time. So I'm trying to build this business and enjoy life now whilst I do that. So for a morning routine, not so much. It's more like a daily routine. If anything, it's not just focusing on the morning. It's it's planning the night before, the week before, and trying to front load everything. I like to front load stuff that I've got to do in the quarter. I like to front load it in the month. Stuff that I have to do in the month, I like to front load it in the week. Stuff that I have to do in a week, I like to front load it in the day, and then in the day I front load that as well. So it gives you a sense of like psychologically you're ahead of everything, which makes you relax. Because the worst thing to do is always think, oh, I should be in the office, or I should be doing this, or I should be doing that. You could be doing more, but you need to like decide on what, like I say, the business model you want to do, identify what are the essential tasks, do those, and then live your life.
I really love that. I really love that in regards to, you know, because mostly YouTubers that I've spoken with, they love doing the batch work anyway, because it does make their life easy, right?
Absolutely.
So you've done the batch work of content, you know, even though if it's taken them a week to create that batch work. So if it's a full-on week worth of work, and then they can just relax the next 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks if they wanted to, right? And they relax because that content is enough for them, you know. And then I know you can also batch upload them, create a time so they get posted themselves and everything. So you can automate the rest of the stuff, so you don't have to worry about it. Again, that probably will take you 2-3 days to automate the content. Editing and cropping and all that stuff maybe takes another week, 2 weeks, depending on how your content is, right? So, and if you've done that, and then you have the next let's say next month and a half just relaxing and sipping mojitos somewhere, why not? Right? So I think yes, then that makes sense, and I love that. Obviously, you've got you showed your Aura ring, right? So you know you're tracking your sleep with that Aura ring, and it's 100% works, and for you obviously it's working because you're tracking it. I wanted to, you are able to shed a little bit more light in terms of, okay, how does it track everything for yourself, and you know, deep sleep and everything like that, right?
I first came across these when I was at Mind Valley University like 2 years ago, not this summer, the last summer, and people were swearing by them, so I did quite a bit of research. Now you can get like lots of other gadgets that do similar stuff. But it tracks the length of your sleep. It tracks how deep you're sleeping. It tracks REM sleep. It tracks all your heart rate variability. And it basically, throughout the day as well, the previous day, it sees how active you are. And then, I mean, it can ask you more questions like if you've had caffeine after midday or if you've had alcohol before you went to bed. And so it suggests like a time window for you to go to sleep to get the best sleep. But it gives you a sleep score, a readiness score. And it checks everything. And I look at it and it's like, if I'm feeling a little bit under the weather, I look at it and it's like, you know, your temperature has increased like 2 degrees. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sick. That's quite a lot for your core temperature to increase. So it tells you you're sick before you do. And if you can catch that before you become like properly man down, then it's a good tool to have. I mean, you can get too obsessed with it. I just like to use it as a guide, like all of these things.
Yeah, I was going to say that because a lot of time, you know, you come across the gadgets and then you're overly obsessed with like, oh, okay, I need to do this, and I love that you added at the end. It's like, okay, use it as a guide. You know, it's not everything like, oh yeah, this is it, and whatever it's telling, we need to just follow. Use it as a guide. It's a good thing to have. I mean, I've been looking into it as well, but the challenge for me is just the ring having on a finger, and just like.
I'm not used to it either.
It's just like touching everything and like what, you know, making noises, clinging. So I might come across it one day. Who knows? But yeah, and so that's good to know that obviously your, you know, the routine is still, there is something that's working for you, right? So, and people listening to this, I would suggest, you know, you try different things.
Absolutely.
And see what works best for you, right? What Tim just shared with you, it might work for you as well. So you will never know. Try it, you know, see what happens. You just wake up and see if you felt good. Yeah, need to continue working. Didn't feel good. just take your day lightly,
Yeah.
right? And still do the work you need to do, but do it lightly,
Yeah.
right? So and that makes sense there. And now you also travel around the world, right? Because you just need to pick up your laptop and camera and the lights and do that. How is that for you since you've started this and you are able to travel more? Because most of the time when I'm looking at your stories, you are in some exotic place every time. So I'm like every time your story comes along, I'm like, oh, where is Tim this time? You know, so that's how you hook me to your story. Like, oh, where's Tim this time? You know. So how is that in regards to like people who are listening to this and you know are like aspiring to be a, you know, because being a nomad is like the next best thing for an influencer nowadays, right? And if everybody wants to be an influencer, if not, then they want to be a digital nomad. If not, they want to be a laptop person sitting in a cafe every time, right?
Yeah.
So how is it for you that since you now started traveling and everything, what's that like?
Yeah, so the last like year or so has been pretty nomadic actually. I left the military over 5 years ago now, but my partner Becky, she left last October, just over a year ago. So ever since she left, it was right, now we've got location freedom. So we have been traveling quite a bit. But previous to that, one of her last posts was in Cyprus. So I took my laptop and I spent the best part of 3 years out in Cyprus with her, which was pretty amazing. But for tax reasons, I have to spend most of my time in the UK. But the last year, she just got a job as an operations manager in a snow school out in Canada. So we spent this year from January till March, April time on the snow. So we went out to Banff and I just worked from my laptop. We rented some accommodation and she had a seasonal job and I kept on with the business. And she's got that job again next year. So we're heading out in January, back out to Canada for another 3 or 4 months.
Nice.
But yeah, it's stuff like that allows you to travel and be flexible. The only challenge is like the time zones. As long as you've got decent Wi-Fi and a place to set up and create content, create videos. We just spent the best part of 2 months traveling around the States. We actually had a bit of a holiday, but it was, I don't call it a holiday anymore because I've still got like client calls and I've still got my stuff to do. So yeah, we don't say we go on holiday anymore. We just say that we work in some pretty awesome places.
you're just traveling. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Traveling, you know, so it's like a business and pleasure mix, right? So
yeah.
As long as you're in different location, as you said, yeah, you're working in all these wonderful, sexy locations. Basically, that's it.
Yeah, we like to see the world. We like to travel around Europe. We spent close to a month in Estonia this year again. Just set up shop. I kept on working out there, but I like to work light touch when I'm on the road. But still get what's essentials to be done. But if I was to travel anywhere for any length of time, I try and batch before I go, and maybe have to work on the road as well. But light touch, yeah.
I like that because I was going to ask the next question would have been, so what's work like whilst you're traveling? Because doing your batch work, it might throw some challenges, right? Because maybe the stability changes, new location, the time zone already is obviously different.
Yeah.
For the time zone will be basically for your client calls, but your batch work wise, I don't know how it is, location really finding and all that stuff. Yeah.
So say like we're going to go to Canada January, February, March this year. I wouldn't call that traveling because we're in one location for almost a quarter of the year. So I have a setup there and I'll set that up. You can usually tell where I am with the backdrop of my YouTube videos. If it's a different location, like this is my home in Lincolnshire. But yeah, when I travel, I just set up somewhere else. And if it's a short length of time, I'll try and then batch beforehand, so I don't have to keep setting up and tearing it down each time, because it takes a little bit to set up. I tend to share how I set up and what are the minimal bits of kit that I need, because I do get that question a little bit. But yeah, it's typically the same.
I was going to ask that. I was going to ask that as well. Yeah. So it's on the YouTube there to go and have a look.
There is. on my channel, I have a sort of a home tour, like a home studio tour. Yeah, I mean, I just focus on camera, having a decent camera, like one of these, a proper camera, some decent lights, and then a microphone. Those are the sort of three big things. If you get a good framing, then you're pretty much good to go to create any type of high quality video.
What was the camera that you just showed us? Just for people who are thinking of.
It's a Panasonic Lumix G7. It's a relatively affordable camera, and I just use the kit lens, and it works really well. Shoots in 4K. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so it's overall it's not challenging in terms of starting the business. That's some taken away, right? If you have the right kit, right?
They are skills you need to learn.
Yes,
that's the biggest thing. People want this thing now, but they sometimes forget that they are learned skills. Like even just being on camera, it's not natural to look into a dark lens of a camera and speak for 10, 15 minutes on a particular topic. So that is definitely a learned skill. It's much easier talking to someone like we are now, interview style. But if you're putting more and more content out there, that's something you've got to learn. You've got to learn the basics of, like, again, this is the whole tech overwhelm bit. I'm in no way an expert. I just know the basics, the fundamentals you need. A microphone, a light, and something to shoot it on. Then yeah, that's the sort of core stuff you need.
Yeah. That is so true though. I mean, looking at the black lens, and you need to make sure as well, where are you looking? If you're looking at the right direction, even though you're looking at the lens, does it look like you're looking straight, or are you looking sideways, right?
Yes.
Once you flip it around and you start watching, you're like, why am I not looking at the camera? I was looking at the camera.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So
exactly that.
Lots of tries there, and obviously, but all is good because you're helping everybody to overcome those challenges and guide them through it, get them to learn skills, and over time, it becomes easy.
Absolutely.
It becomes second nature. I like to use the example of a lot of time, whenever people started to do their day role that they're doing now, it didn't, you didn't have that skill. You had to turn up. You gave an interview that you're going to do this, this, and this. You have a knowledge of that skill, blah, blah, blah. Then you turn up to the location, and then you're looking everywhere now.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
And then they put you with someone who's already doing one. And then you shadow that person for a couple of weeks or a week, and then you take over, and then you ask for support here and there. Is this correct? Is that not? And then comes a time that you're just doing it yourself, and now you're good at it, and you're leveling up. And that the same principle applies to
Absolutely.
this as well. Learn skills, and support, and investing in yourself, and learning and finding those people that you want to shadow and pick up and learn from, so that you can just ask them the questions like, okay, is this the correct thing that I just did? Oh, you said this and this. What does this mean? So you can continue and upskill yourself.
Absolutely.
And also avoid any curveballs which are there and you might not know, and they've already experienced it, and they might just take you away from that curveball straight away before. And I love that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go on. No, go on.
I was going to say, a lot of people like the idea of having an online business, but may not be prepared to do the milestones that is needed to actually build an online business.
Exactly. I was going to say the same thing there. So we're going to be wrapping this up shortly as well, because we're coming to the nearest or the top of the hour. And I really loved everything that you shared in terms of how you started your journey and where you are now, and how everybody wants to start the businesses, and missing out the initial big pictures of, okay, what does this need to bring in terms of revenue, what does this need to replace for to do this, and and the skills that need to be learned to actually run the business, right? And you're helping everybody to understand that and bring this all together to life. And it's a process that they have to learn and everything. So where can people get in touch with you? I know you mentioned your YouTube. What's the YouTube name? Is it the same as?
YouTube handle is just @Tim Peakman, and then my domain is timpeakman.com. Very simple.
Nice. Okay. So they can reach out to you there, and pretty much if they want to message you and drop you everything, they can pretty much find it there.
Everything's from
do
my domain. Yeah. And if they're interested in my business model that I've set up, I've got a free workshop. It's at timpeakman.com/workshop. It goes through my entire business model.
Nice, cool. I would recommend everybody who's listening to this to go and check it out. I'm sure we all want to learn those skills, and if there's a workshop out there already, to go and do it. Thank you very much for sharing all these things. So before we wrap this up and we finish, I usually ask 2 questions to all my guests before we finish. So the first question that I wanted to ask was like, what do you know now that you would have appreciated in your teenage life that you would have preferred to know at that time, but you know now?
Wow. Back in my teenage, it's going to be different to somebody who is now a teenager, because when I was a teenager, this type of business wasn't available because of the technology. I wish it was, and I wish I was aware of it. But if someone is a teenager now, and I was like giving them this advice, like look into how to make money online, learn the skills needed to make an online business, and start now. I liken building an online business to either going to the gym or investing in stocks and shares. It's little and often. Like if you can do something little and often over a long time, you're going to see huge impact. So start early and learn these skills, because these are the skills that are for the future. Everyone communicates on video now. The people that aren't getting on board and learning these tech skills are going to be left behind. And this is just the start with new AI coming involved and everything like that. So if I was to speak to myself as a teenager, that advice probably wouldn't resonate until another sort of 10, 15 years. And it's the reason I joined the military, because I just did what I loved. And there wasn't, when I joined in 2000 something, there wasn't this business opportunity available. So, but if it was, I would have definitely jumped at it.
I love that. So that's a good takeaway for teenagers who are listening to this.
I wish I was a teenager right now.
Don't we all wish that? Yes. So the last question would be, what would you like people to take away from our conversation that we had so far today? What would you like them to take away?
Probably, I keep saying it. You may have a great idea for a business, but until you can find a way of getting that out there to the world, you could either be the best kept secret, right? So everyone thinks like Starbucks is the best coffee in the world. What some people do. Starbucks is the best known coffee, right? Because it's got the best marketing and it's the biggest out there in the world. But really spending time in the design stage and understanding what business model you would like to run, because it's all choice at the end of the day. So I'm sure everyone has something to share in terms of skill set, in terms of knowledge and teachings, but it's how you get that out in front of people. That is the make or break if it is an online business that you want to start.
I love that. I've made a note of you're the best kept secret. I might use that as the title for this episode when I post it across. So the final message for everybody who's been listening to us live on Instagram since beginning, and thank you very much. And anybody who's listening to this as a podcast version, which will happen a few months down the line.
Sure.
So thank you very much. Also, if this episode resonated with you and you had a spark in you, it's your duty now to share this with whomever just come to your mind or you think should be listening to this or watching this, because we just need that spark that we have within us to spark theirs as well and create that idea or flow or get them going. And you never know, if it might just change their life. If it's not changing yours, it might change their life, because if you have the spark, they will have that spark too. And all we need is just that spark to get us going. We don't know who's woken up or going to bed thinking of a better day, and this video might just change that for them as well. We never know. So share that with whoever and whomever, and we will see everybody on the next Tuesday with an amazing guest as well. And thank you very much, Tim, for your time. And
thank you
as well. An amazing
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.